Right, shut the fuck up! If there's any kids here, I'm sorry. If you're here, that's great. This is attempt 2. Anyone who was at B-Sides London, I did this talk and there was about 20 people in the room. There's at least 21 people this time. This is not an introduction to bondage, so if you're here for that, I do apologise. This should have been the first slide. I'm Scottish. Certain words are commas. There might be strong body violence because I've now got a Nerf gun. So be prepared to get hit, essentially. Whoever's at the back, can you fucking move? Move. Move. No, you're in the way. You're still in the way. You're still in the way. You're fucked. Anytime you feel like it, that'd be great. Right. Cool. I wrote my slides this morning, so thanks for being here. You made it to SteelCon, well done. You could have been in track 1 or track 3. Don't know what's going on in track 1 or track 3, but you could have been there.
I think track 3 got cancelled.
Okay, you could have been in track 1. And if you're a child, please go to the kids track, it's amazing. If you're a child by age, I should clarify. We're all children, really. And yeah, witty comment and shit. So, this isn't a run-of-the-mill how to get a job in industry. It's more a life lesson on why coming to hear me at SteelCon is definitely worth the ticket price alone. Because it's profit, right? Something profit. It works 50% of the time, every time. That's just the peaks and troughs of my life and probably your life. So, who's this guy? I'm Andy Gill. I'm a penetration tester and I break stuff and write reports for pen test partners. But who am I really? Well, anyone who follows me on Twitter, I've got a blue car. It's currently not drivable, but I have a blue car. And the next slide I'll explain why. So I do a lot of photography and I like taking pictures. That is a 40-second exposure with a laser. It's pretty fucking cool. I spend a lot of time here, not particularly ESO, mostly Shell, because V-Power FTW. And that's my girlfriend. She's awesome. And we go up there a lot and take pictures because it's cool as fuck. In my free time, I like kicking the sun. It's good fun. Don't stand for fuck! Come on! Duck! Whoever's there, duck! Everyone at the back, duck! Duck!
Use the gun!
Fucking move! For anyone watching at home, I've got a Nerf gun in case you're wondering. Right. You're ruining my presentation, come on. If you're going to move, go down the sides. Where was I? Yeah, so I kicked the sun. If anyone's wondering why I look like Kung Fu Posty, it relates to my previous slide. This thing currently has no wheels because this guy drove it through country roads in Scotland, which are in awful condition. I hit a pothole which was about this big and this deep, and I buckled my front left alloy, my front right alloy, my front left shock, and then I thought, all right, cool, I'll switch the wheels over and it'll be fine, but that did not end well. So yeah, I ended up in a high-vis jacket for 18 hours. Yeah, while I waited for my pal to come and bring me a jack and stuff. Anyway, long story short, Ford Focus RS doesn't have a spare wheel. It has magic injection fluid that doesn't work on a blowout tyre. So Ford, if you're listening, sort that shit out. Or just don't be an idiot like me. Anyway, fuck. Wait, hold on. If anyone's offended by swearing, I'm sorry. So in real life, this is me on Twitter. Chris was saying earlier on, it's a very professional photograph of me. It makes me look almost intelligent. It's true. I was at an event in London and they took a picture of me and it looked pretty good. But that's me. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already, please. And that's my girlfriend. She's cute. She said she couldn't be here in person, so she could be here in spirit. I went, all right, I'll put you in my slides. She went, don't fucking do that. Shh, don't tell her. Yeah, I wrote a book. It's pretty good. I also write a blog. The book is free. If 2 people in the room who haven't bought the book, can you please download it? Because I'm 2 off of 4,500. That'd be great. It's free, so don't worry, you're not going to be out of pocket. You can pay $25 if you want to. But am I coming up on the mic or not? Yeah. I am? Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, cool. I think you just looked at the computer, I was like, shit, broken it. So anyway, yeah, my blog's got write-ups. Currently, at the end of the slideshow, I'm going to talk about another project I've started for making security more accessible, but I'll speak about that later on. Most of the time I do hacking. I do it as a job, and I do it in my free time. legally of course, because Comic Sans is awesome. So anyway, enough talking about me, this is the talk plan. I'm going to talk about how I got to where I am today, work-wise, like sort of career, not travel, unless you're interested. I got the train, it was pretty shit. How the book came to be, the how, the what, the where, the why, and the something. The 5 W's plus H anyway. The different areas of industry. Don't walk away. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of like fucking stop it, and nobody's going to be able to see in the stream because it goes straight to the stream. Anyway, different areas of industry, so useful for both people who are not in the industry and who are already stuck in the industry. So my next book, not the current book, is going to be how to break out of industry. There's a good pun there. And then I'm going to talk about different paths into industries for anyone who is not in industry. Actually, quick show of hands, who's not in industry at the moment? Who thinks they're going to get some form of use out of this talk? Great. You're all going to be bitterly disappointed, but hey. Yeah, so different paths into industry. Important things about working in the industry. Everyone who's in the industry, it's important to note that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It is 90% of the time just shells and stuff, but there is other not so fun stuff, so it's important. There's an important message there somewhere. And then I'm going to talk about my new project. I've got a laser pointer, it's great. I'm going to talk about my new project, making security more accessible, which started because my girlfriend is a muggle and doesn't know anything about security or technology in general. I'm sorry, Shannon. Sorry. And then we're going to have questions. The best question wins the book. It's an unsigned copy, so it's worth fucking millions. So best question. It's to encourage you to ask questions. Anyway, so let's start the talk. That's the wrong way. How did I get into industry? Essentially, it goes from the thing on the right all the way down. So I fucked up school. Literally failed everything. I did craft design and I built a table. It's pretty fucking gallus, thanks for asking. And then I went on to college. I learned about networking, but I also learned about hacking the hard way, not in an illegal sense, sort of. I found out about a bug called insecure direct object references, which for anyone who doesn't know, if you change an ID, you can go through different records and things. I found that uploading my coursework to their online thing, if you had your ID wrong, it would upload it to someone else's profile, which is a bit of a problem because you could submit your coursework for your friends, and that's totally not a problem. But then I somehow legitimately managed to get into uni. So in between college and university, I did an internship. Wait, I'm not skipping. Yeah, I did an internship in technology and information risk. Does anyone work in risk before I offend you? It's fucking boring. Yeah, it's really fucking boring. It's just looking at spreadsheets and shit. It's really. I wouldn't recommend it. If you're going into TIR, good luck. That's all I can say. And then, after doing that, somehow I managed to wangle my way into university in Scotland. It's a lot easier in Scotland because we do more time in university because we're thick as shit. I studied the longest degree title in the prospectus at the time, which is Digital Security, Digital Forensics and Ethical Hacking. That literally went off the page, so my degree certificate is like on 3 lines, it's great. I graduated, it was great. At that time, I got involved with the Cybersecurity Challenge, who are an initiative set up to kind of help people from all kind of walks of life to get into the industry and stuff like that. I went to their cyber camp, which was happening in Glasgow, which isn't, no, I'm not going to say it. It's fine. I was about to make a really homophobic comment, but that's not going to happen. I'm not homophobic. I don't have a filter between what I say and what I think, so it can go really badly really quickly. So, yeah. Anyway, I've had a few close calls. What was I talking about? Yeah, Cybersecurity Challenge. So I went to the cyber camp, and there was like 3 days there was a day of business, so learning about how to sell different things. I don't really like sales, but apparently you need to know about it to become a consultant. There was then a day of forensic recovery, so we went to Tullyallen in Edinburgh, which is the police college, and we learnt about forensic recovery of mobile devices, which is pretty cool. I haven't touched it since, but it's pretty cool. And then on the last day, I can't remember what we did on the last day. We did something. We ended up drinking a lot of alcohol, so a lot of it's quite hazy, but these things tend to be. But anyway, that managed to land me a place in the masterclass, which is like where they get the top people. So there's like 30. Stuart will know better than me. Is it 30 or 40? 42. 42. Well, it wasn't even close. 42 of the best people in the country, and they bring them together and they go, right, we've got a scenario over 3 days. And my scenario, actually quite funny, was ransomware on the NHS. This was 3 years before WannaCry happened, so called it, guys, called it. So we had to basically work out how to solve the ransomware, and then had to I think it was every 5 hours report to a board, which was great fun being a student, not really knowing how to speak to business people. So translating Muggle speak to board people was really difficult when you've never done it before, and they go, "What's an IP address?" You're like, okay. And I'll explain that later on because I now know how to explain that to Muggles. So you too can do that. So anyway, after doing that, I managed to get my CV to a lot of people and made a lot of connections. So I managed to land an internship in London, and I learned the real ropes. I learned how to do bondage and all that stuff. It was great fun. So, fuck, this is being recorded. I'll get Cooper to edit some of this. So then, following that, I put a tweet out because I'd enjoyed my internship so much. I thought, why go back to university when I can maybe do an internship? And the stars aligned, and I put that tweet out, and a lot of people retweeted it. And a guy called Paul Ritchie, who works for Karma now, I think, but anyway, he was working for Dell Security at the time. The one day he ever logged into Twitter, he saw that tweet and went, "I'm hiring, I can give you a job." So 6 months later, I started my first job in the industry, and the rest is history. I've worked for 3 consultancies now as a pen tester, and I seem to be doing pretty well. Nobody's found out I don't know what I'm doing yet, so that's pretty good. So yeah, the main reason you're probably here, I wrote a book. That's how you spell dyslexic, as a dyslexic. Dyslexic is the worst word for people who are dyslexic to try and spell, so that's how I spell it. I wrote a book, it's doing pretty well, so 2 people could please download it, that'd be great. 9 fucking dicks have got refunds. It's just, honestly, the comments are ridiculous. It's like, "Oh yeah, I downloaded your book, I paid $1 for it, and it's shit." I'm like, it's just a fucking $1. You could have just not refunded it. Oh, I didn't mean to press that. And then you can see the ratio of people who have no money to people who have money. It's pretty good. It's $25 is the recommended price, but you can pay anything below that. I get 20% of it. The company the publisher take 80%. So it'd be pretty great if you could buy it. It means that I can buy lemonade at the bar. It's great. Yeah. So yeah, I wrote the book. It originally came to be from a bunch of blog posts. So on my blog, I started writing introductory posts. How it originally happened is one of my mates who was a developer, was really interested in security. "Don't you dare walk in front of this. You're going to ruin it. It's going to be your fault. I've got a Nerf gun." Yeah, he was interested in security, and he wasn't really quite sure what security was or how to get into it. So I thought, right, okay, cool. What do you know and what do you not know? So I broke that down with him, and we went down as low level as like how binary works, because you can do Code Academy and everything else, but you might not understand how networking works or how low level numbers and stuff work, how hex works. So I went through and explained that and started writing blog posts. And quite quickly it grew a lot of traction. A lot of people, or gathered a lot of traction, a lot of people sort of found it quite interesting. And I had a few people ask me, "Why don't you write a book?" I'm like, "Nah, that's too much effort." But I continued writing blog posts. And one guy messaged me on Twitter, I can't remember his name, some guy anyway, messaged me on Twitter and went, "Why don't you take all your blog posts and put them in a book? Because even if one person downloads it, you've made more money than you would have done in your blog." I went, "I think you'll find my ad revenue's okay on my blog. I get quite a lot of hits, it's okay." They went, "No, but like, in all seriousness, taking a book and putting it out there makes it more accessible, because people might not necessarily know to search for a blog, but if they search for a title, the book will come up and that'll be cool." And sure enough, when you type my name into Google and then security, the book's like the second thing that comes up. The first thing is my blog, and it's only linked because of Pornhub. That's another thing I do. I find a lot of holes on certain websites. That's another point entirely. But anyway, so that's how I started the book. And then it's aimed at people, well, originally it was aimed at people who were looking to get into industry, but I quickly found out when I started dating my current girlfriend that it's not really aimed at people who don't really have an idea of what they want to do. It's aimed at people who have a somewhat technical understanding. If you don't understand the basics of technology, it won't make much sense to you. The first chapter will make sense because it's mostly me going, "Thanks for buying the book, I'm awesome," all that stuff. So it's if you have somewhat of a little bit of technical understanding, it will go through networking, operating systems, virtualization, different types of web application testing, infrastructure, the kind of core basics you would need to get into pen testing, and somewhat bug bounties. There is a whole chapter in there that talks about the difference between pen testing and bug bounties, and there's also a chapter in there for all the pen testers here about reporting, because reporting is awesome. Who loves reporting? I love reporting. Okay, well, yeah, so you've got that. And it goes through all this sort of thing, and yes, it's free. Go download it. Hopefully two people. If you haven't, please do anyway, because if it's not suitable for you, it might be useful for somebody you know, and that's the main reason I did it. Anyway, so the sales in the last year, so I published it at B-Sides London last year, and there have been 4,498 copies downloaded of the ebook, and I've sold 500 physical copies. So actually I've sold almost 5,000 copies, which is quite a lot. Maybe a wee round of applause would be quite nice. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. It's great. So yeah, it's doing pretty well. But it goes to show if you've got enough traction on the internet and people are stupid enough, they'll maybe listen to you. You guys and gals have all shown up, and you're listening to me talk shit at the moment. So that's pretty useful. Anyway, the other part of this talk. The different areas of industry. So we've got the blue team. I need to remember these are different colours. So if you're colourblind or whatever, that's the blue team. That's the red team. That's the purple team. Then we've got the rainbow team, which doesn't exist, but there are certain companies who have like every colour under the sun of teaming. So I thought, well, we'll put in rainbow, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, the blue team. I almost said red team there, and that would have gone really badly. But basically, the blue team are the good guys. Not the red team are the bad guys, but they're the good guys. They have the hardest job because they are reacting to stuff happening in the network. So they're working in secure operations centres, they're working in instant response, they're working in forensics, they're catching the shit as we're throwing it, or they're trying to stop you throwing the shit before you throw it. So it's quite a good role. I mean, I've touched on blue team. I've never actually worked properly in blue team. I've done threat hunting in my internship when I worked in London. And I've also done instant response, just because it's a little bit interesting. So they look at like when there's malware infections. So like WannaCry is probably the biggest example. When WannaCry came out, the blue teams were probably working like they had no weekend. Like that shit hit on Friday at 5 p.m. They were like, oh, I was going to go to the beach this weekend. Didn't fucking happen. Or if it did, their company were screwed. So the blue team are the kind of the hidden heroes and heroines. Not heroin, not the drug heroin. Yeah, that sort of thing. So it's a good role to be into. It's more defensive. It's more about kind of finding malware and fixing things. Reverse engineering can sort of fall into blue teaming. If anyone knows more about this than me, please tell me I'm wrong. Okay, I'm right. That's great. Honestly, don't be afraid to shout at me. I'm here to be heckled. Why else would I stand up in front of a group of a lot of people? Don't know. Anyway, is everyone awake so far? Is anyone asleep? Is anyone asleep? Okay, cool. Right, anyway, the red team. This is the sort of stuff that I do. This is not... So red team is a very loosely used term. Red teaming specifically is like simulated attacks and targeted attacks sort of thing. But I've kind of put pen testing and all the other shit that falls in this. So if anyone's really political and really Nazi about it, yeah, cool, red teaming isn't pen testing, but that's another argument for another day. But basically, the offensive side of security, I would put under red teaming versus blue teaming. Does anyone not know what red teaming and blue teaming is, like originally? Great, I'm going to explain it anyway. Red teaming and blue teaming is a military term. So it's about simulating actually adversaries attacking like your country. So Russia coming in like attacking the US, that would be red team. Blue team, they would be simulating that sort of shit. So taking it into the cybers, I hate that word, but taking it into the digital realm is taking the same techniques used, so like guerrilla warfare, that sort of stuff, and putting it into the kind of the digital sphere, the World Wide Web, internet, all that stuff. So the red team are looking at ways to get into your network from an exterior perspective, be that from a digital, so phishing falls into that, looking at vulnerable servers that sit on the internet, and trying to get in that way. So if you find like an outdated Tomcat, which is a kind of content management sort of thing, and you can content management, if you can get in that way. Other ways of that, you have the physical security. There's a great talk about physical security that Chris is doing at, what time are you talking about, Chris? 4:15. 4:15, about how he breaks into critical national infrastructure and casinos and stuff. It's very cool. I would highly recommend it. So that's the physical side of things in social engineering, which also falls into that band of things. So the red team are basically the guys that break shit. We go and we break shit and we write reports. Pen testing is not quite as kind of full on as red teaming. It's more like client comes to you and goes, we've got a web app, or we've got infrastructure and we want you to break it, or we want you to find things that are already broken and then write us a report. So that's what the red team do. And then somebody mentioned purple team to me. I don't know what the fuck it is. Does anyone know what purple teaming is?
It's a mix of both.
Okay. Really? I would never tell that if you mix blue and red together it would make purple. Never.
Colourblind, so what the fuck?
It's a fair point. Yeah, the purple team are basically, they do stuff, okay?
They actually talk to each other.
Yeah, I suppose the purple team is when you speak, the blue team and the red team speak together. I'd imagine it's usually internal. I know Google have an orange team, which is like a mid between red team and blue team. I don't know where that goes in the Jokes colour chart, but it's somewhere. And then like other companies have got like black teaming, which is apparently physical, which I suppose that falls under like SWAT and stuff. That's like black. And then you've got green teaming. Don't know what that is either, but I've heard it mentioned.
Eco warriors.
Put war paint in your face and they're ready for it. Yeah, and there's I haven't heard white teaming. There must be a bit of racism in there somewhere. Well, they've got black teaming. They need to have white teaming.
Is it ginger teaming?
There should be, or definitely should be. I'm going to make it a thing.
Yeah, but ginger tea can't work in summer, though, can it?
Well, I mean, you saw the hat that Will had on. That's what we wear. Look at them. If anyone who's watching, Will had a hat on that had like a raincoat on it. It was great. Thanks, internet. Go and Google it. This is like the fourth wall. It's like Deadpool. Has anyone seen Deadpool? Yeah. Deadpool's a great film. I'm not as good as Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, it's like the fourth wall, breaking the fourth wall. Anyway, so we've spoken about the different areas of industry. Now we're going to talk about the penetration testers' top tips for getting in to the industry. It's a great conversation starter. I was speaking to people last night who were like, what do you say your job title is? I'm like, of course I say it's penetration tester. Why the hell would you not? And they're like, oh, it gets really awkward really quickly. I'm like, that's because you're making it awkward. People who have a dirty mind they don't have a dirty mind, they've got sexy imaginations. That's how it works. I mean, the top tips for getting into the industry, buy my book would be the first one. Read my blog would be the second one. But no, I mean, in a serious sense, people who aren't in the industry yet, you're already halfway there. You've come to a security conference. Come to security conferences, go to meetups, write a blog. Even if you have nothing interesting to talk about, just write a blog, download some virtual machines, try and crack them, do capture the flags, that sort of thing. Do write-ups, because it gets you out there. That's how I've managed to make a name for myself on the internet. I started a blog back in 2014, and I was writing about how to build MacBooks, how to take MacBooks apart, recover data, that sort of stuff. And I went to my first interview and they went, oh, you've got a blog? I'm like, yeah. It's not very interesting, but I've got a blog. And they went, yeah, but you've got a blog better than Joe Blogs or Jane Blogs had. So it sets you apart from the crowd. And you might be sitting there thinking, oh yeah, but I've got nothing interesting to say. Just fucking do it, honestly. Even if you're doing tutorials on how to use Bash or how to use Nmap, it could be useful to someone. Like one of my colleagues recently wrote a blog post on his personal blog about how to use Iodine, which is for DNS tunneling. Now, setting up Iodine is an absolute nightmare, but he's written a blog post that explains it from like level 0, how to download shit and like go through it. Imagine you're teaching someone who doesn't know what a computer is. Maybe not doesn't know what a computer is. That's my project. Don't take it from me. But yeah, take them through, do tutorials, that sort of thing. It can be the most. You came to a talk. It's great. You've missed about half of it, but it's fine. It'll be on the internet once Cooper's edited. Anyway, so yeah, blog, buy my book, come to conferences and go to talks. Listen to things that you're maybe slightly interested in and don't know much about, and ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions. Even if I'm pointing a Nerf gun at you, please ask questions. At the end, you can ask questions, it's fine. They can be related to the talk or not related to the talk. I'll still hit you with a Nerf gun regardless. When I run out of darts, I'll throw the gun. That's why it was marked 18+. There was strong bloody violence in there. Don't sue me. I have a black... That's the other thing I didn't mention. I've got a black belt in karate, so I'll break your legs and your computers. That's why I was kicking the sun. I wasn't just kicking the sun. Anyway, so yeah, come to conferences, go to talks, speak to sponsors. The last 3 jobs in industry I've got is from speaking to people at conferences. My first job as a proper, like after putting that tweet out, the next company I worked for, I spoke to a company at BSIS Manchester, and they went, "Cool, what are you doing next Tuesday?" I'm like, "Nothing. Like, come down to Altrincham and have an interview, and we'll might be a certain company. We'll give you an interview, and we'll see how it goes." And the same thing happened with my current company. I was at DEF CON Las Vegas, and we came off the flight, and I was in first class, and they weren't. It was great. I was like, "Hey guys," and they were like, "Yeah, cool. Come work for us. It'll be great." So yeah, conferences, speak to people. Even if you're socially awkward as fuck, just go for it. Just be like, "Hi, I'm interested in doing security. Can I get a job?" Maybe can I get a job? Maybe don't jump to the gun straight away. But yeah, try it. Other ways to get into industry, it doesn't necessarily need to be pen testing. You could do self-employed stuff. You could go and do bug bounties. Bug bounties are a good way of learning. They're a more kind of, they've grown, what's the word? They've gathered a lot of traction recently, where there's a lot more people getting into them than there were 3 or 4 years ago. And it's good from that perspective because there's a lot more guides out there on how to do things. So use Google and go and look at things like HackerOne, BugCrowd, Cobalt.io, Synac. There are lots of other platforms, but they're the kind of 4 main ones. Correct if I'm wrong, there's another one that I'm forgetting. ZeroCopter as well, that's invite only, but yeah, so they're the kind of 5. HackerOne and BugCrowd are probably the 2 most accessible ones, so like go and sign up for an account, it's free. And then go and look at guides. Actually, I'm plugging my blog from a serious point. There are some good write-ups, if I do say so myself, on there that will give you tips on how to do things, how cool bugs that I found in the past, and maybe you could try. So it's worth looking at. There's a big kind of friendly community as well. There are closed groups. There's closed groups in every community, but it's worth looking at. Someone stood in front. Chris, looking at you. So yeah, there's a community. If you've got a question, just ask. You're like, the other thing is use Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. If you're like, "Oh, I'm all anonymous and shit," privacy doesn't exist. It's 2018. Like, if you're all concerned about OPSEC and shit, don't come to a security conference. Wear a fucking hood and that shit if you're gonna. Yeah, don't wear a white hood though. That would be bad.
Do juggalo makeup.
What?
The juggalo makeup.
Oh yeah. or put a clown mask on. That'd be. Yeah. Yeah. Privacy's dead. It's 2018. So I can't remember what I was talking about. I've lost my. Anyway, yeah, that's how you get into the industry. Be on Twitter, write a blog, read books, speak to people. The other thing I forgot to mention is meetups. Security conferences happen less frequently than meetups happen. So like meetups, when I say meetups, like for example, I run DEF CON Glasgow, which is a meetup of security people or people who are interested in security. There's a few people who come along who are not even like technical. They want to get into industry, but they don't know how. So they come along and they speak to us, and we're all a bunch of geeks, and we drink beer and lemonade, because lemonade's awesome. And yeah, we speak about things. So look on meetup.org, I think it is, or meetup.com. There are local meetups. Look on Twitter. Look on there's another website, cyber.uk, has got like all the UK meetups and things. Or if there isn't a meetup in your area, start one. That's a great way to get your name out there as well. Like I started DEF CON Glasgow in 2012. I started it before I got into industry, and it was more because I was remotely interested in how Nmap worked, and I was learning how to use Nmap and all the different flags. So there was one night where we all got together, and I had a whiteboard, and somebody was like, "This is what this flag means," and there was a time where I didn't know what port DNS ran on. It's 53 in case you're wondering. Like, it got drilled into me, that's the port that DNS runs on. So we had a quiz, and then anyone who's ever had the fun of doing CREST exams now knows what ports things run on, because they ask you all the stupid ports. It's great. But I'm not giving away that. You need to go and study it yourself. You have to go through that hell yourself. So that's that. Different ways. So the paths into industry, they're the sort of kind of ad hoc ways I would suggest. There's the traditional route into industry, which I would call it traditional because it's sort of academic. So you go through school, you maybe do well at school, you go to university, do a sort of security related degree, But while you're doing that degree, actually do other stuff, because I've been on the hiring side of things at a previous company and seeing lots of graduates come through. Put your hand up if you're at uni. Yeah, put your hand up. Keep your hand up if you do other stuff. This doesn't count. Well, this sort of counts. Oh fuck it, you're all doing this. Fine. Well, actually, no. Keep your hand up if you've got a blog. Start a fucking blog. It's free. Like, sign up to WordPress, sign up to Ghost, sign up to DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean isn't free, but it's pretty cheap. You can get like $5 a month. That's $6 a year. That's like, I don't know if you get student loan in England, but you get student loan in Scotland. You get like $1,000 a month.
I think it's for free anyway with Gill.
Okay, well yeah, GitHub works as well. It's free, so start a blog. Yeah, so the academic route: go to university, get a degree, drink a lot of alcohol, come to conferences and things, and maybe once you graduate, start to speak to people, make those contacts. So today, the students that are here today, go and speak to the sponsors. If you're not already speaking to them, speak to them. Like Robin said in the keynote, it's about speaking to them so they come back and give more money. But it's not only that, it's beneficial to yourself. Because if you speak to people at the conference and you make an impact on them, maybe you don't want to work for the company they're currently at, but if they change company, you have that contact and you can speak to them and you can go, well, remember we met at SteelCon in 2018. I'm looking to get into pen testing now. I've just graduated, or I'm looking to get into Secure Operations Center or SOC. I'm wanting to do this. What the forensics? Or the reverse engineering? And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You're the guy with the long hair, or you're the guy or you're the girl who did this or whatever." So yeah, it's about making an impact on people and being able. It's all about people, really. It's the age-old saying of "it's not what you know, it's who you know." It's sort of still applicable to security. Knowing the skills is great, but it's also about meeting the people. You can apply to big corporates, you can put your CV through the corporates, but a lot of the time they are filtered through by like, have you got a CISP or have you got a CEH, which is Mickey Mouse hacking for anyone who's wondering. Have you got this, have you got that? But speaking to people is what will get your foot in the door and is what will get you... This is why I'm awful on camera. Yeah, it's what will get you in there and different. So then you've got the other path. So if maybe uni isn't for you, maybe it's a career change. Maybe you're working as a postman or something else. Start looking at online resources. There are things like from a pen testing perspective, there's things like Pen Tester Academy. There's Pen Tester Labs. They're all free. You can download labs. You can learn about things. Pen Tester Academy, I think, is paid for. There are free videos as well, where you can learn the very basics, like Python for pen testers. There's PowerShell, which is the blue one, in case you're watching, Ross. It's an ongoing meme between the Scotland team, but it's just me. So you can learn those things. The other thing is, like, you might already work in IT, you might already be a dev, and that's probably an easier transition than going from a non-technical job. Not that it's impossible, because anything is possible. Anything's possible with enough determination and lemonade. It's simple. It's my motivation for life. Lemonade and determination. But yeah, keeping your chin up and going for something, and if you really want it, one day it'll work out. There's a guy who currently works for Pentest Partners who came along to DEF CON Glasgow 2 years ago, and was working as a sysadmin. He was a system administrator for 10 years in a school. And he came along for the first DEF CON meetup. He just happened to be in the pub. He wasn't coming to the meetup. He was in the pub. He was like, you guys look like IT people. You're on black t-shirts. It's like, yeah, or you could be rockers, but it's like, no, we're IT people. And he's like, what are you here for? It's like, it's a security meetup. He's like, oh, security? We never do that. I was like, well, okay. Come and learn, my child, come and learn. So we brought him in and he went through, basically he got so interested in it, he sold all his camera equipment, all his guitars, everything, and sat OSCP. So like that is determination, if there's anything. Selling like 2 cameras, a bunch of lenses, a bunch of guitars and stuff to go and do a certification. If that doesn't say dedication like that. I'm not saying you should do that, like, but if you're interested enough and that is really what you want to do, he really wanted to change career. So he went for that, and now a couple of years later he's worked in a previous company, now he works for us, and he's doing well. He's one of the most motivated individuals I know. He also, if you ever meet him in real life, name's Paul Stewart, follow him on Twitter. He looks like he's like 20. He's actually like well older than that. So he's great. I met him first and he got his idea. I'm like, dude, you're not 30. He's like, I am. I'm like, you're really not. He's like, no, I am. Look. I'm like, fuck, you're old. So yeah, determination and career change can happen. It's just about speaking to the right people. Come and speak to me afterwards, and I'll give you advice and stuff. If this talk hasn't been useful, if you haven't gotten anything away from this, it's also been recorded, so you can watch me back swearing at you. The other thing is self-taught. So maybe university wasn't for you. Maybe you fucked up school. Maybe you don't want to do the academic route. Maybe you just want to be self-taught. So you just want to go and learn stuff in your free time. You can do that. Bug bounties is probably what I'd put under. But you can go self-taught and go into industry. Now what I would classify as don't do anything illegal. Illegal is bad. Illegal gets you put in prison, or sometimes not in prison, but like don't do illegal shit, because basically if you get done for having a criminal record, your chance of getting hired by somebody in legitimate employer is very, very slim. If they do, they're probably a shady organisation anyway. Go work for the NSA or something, they'll probably hire you. I'm not saying the NSA is a shady organisation, I'm just saying they have to be an example, just to clarify to the camera. So, self-taught, and then you just go, fuck it, I want to learn. So this is where, oh no, shit, this slide's in the wrong place. Right, anyway, ignore that slide. Important things about working in industry. So, those who are already in industry will know that it can be quite stressful. It can be quite closed. Like you can work with a lot of rough around the edges people, but it's important to have an open mind. It might be Monday morning you come across a developer who's written this brand new application, and you have no idea about it. But if you have the kind of right mindset to think about it and go and learn about it, then you can go in on Friday and go, I know more about your application than you do. Nah. But in a nice way, in a suit and stuff. Because yeah. As well as that, with pen testing and with a lot of other security roles, you tend to work from home a lot. So having an escape, I've written a blog post about this, having an escape is really useful. So make sure, although I'm ginger, I do get outside once a day, every day. I go out, probably the worst time of day to go out, I go out at noon from a lunch break and burn, because it's been like boiling in Glasgow, but I go out and have coffee every day, and that's how I take a lunch break. I have it outside and I get vitamin D, and I'm actually starting to get a tan. It's pretty good because it's been so warm. I don't know how this has happened. Maybe I'm not a real ginger. We'll never know. So yeah, have an escape. It doesn't need to be going outside. It can be doing something that's non-technical. So if you're interested in sport or music or anything else, go and do that. Go take an hour a day or whatever, take your lunch break, take time out and go and do things. What you don't want to get into, and it's the cycle that I got stuck in a couple of years ago, is doing your day job, which for most muggles, normal people that are in security is 9 to 5, but for security people, really, if you enjoy it, it's going to be your life. Security is your life. You come to conferences, you do that, which is fine, but it's important finding something to do as well as that. So, as well as doing all the things I do, I go out driving. Anyone who follows me on Twitter, you've seen I have a blue car. I've done like 9,000 miles in 3 months because I go and drive places. Scotland's beautiful. If you can drive to Scotland. Don't drive through potholes, but drive to Scotland. It's great. There are so many great landscapes and roads. If you're not into driving, it's also great too, because our alcohol's good or something. No, our alcohol's more expensive. Anyway, it's a good place to go. We've got Iron Brew, the real Iron Brew, not the shit stuff you get down here. We've got malt whiskey, which is slightly cheaper, and yeah. Come to Scotland, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful country in the world, believe it or not. It got rated in the Times last year, I think, as the most beautiful country in the world. So it's worth going to. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, escapes. So maybe it's sport. I train karate 3 times a week. That's why I've got like really bloody knuckles at the moment. I fight full contact and I love it. I hit people when I'm. No, I don't just hit people in the street. I go and train. Quite clarify. Yeah, I go and train. I kick. I've got like bruised shins and stuff. That's why I've got a big thing on my shin. I always look like I've been through the wars, but it's worth it because it gets me away from the computer and it gets me thinking. And often, if I'm doing a pen test or if I'm doing a bug bounty, if I take some time away, I'll come back and go, I've got the eureka moment. I know what I want to do. I want to go and I want to put this parameter in here, and maybe it's SQL injection, maybe it's something else. So having an escape, taking your mind off something can be really useful. Again, doing other things, so like music, if you go and, even if it's not playing music, even if it's just going and listening to music, turn your screen off, go and plug in, sit in the garden. Even if it's raining, put an umbrella up, go and sit in the garden. If it's raining, go somewhere else. Go for a walk. Make sure you get fresh air. Make sure it's not the only time you get outside is coming to conferences, because that gets weird. See, there's people I see I only see them at conferences and never see them anywhere else. I wonder if they ever leave the house. So yeah, and the same thing applies again. So no 2 days will be the same. Be prepared for shit to change at the last minute. So it can be quite a high stress environment. So if you combine number 1 and number 2, having an escape and having an open mind, number 3 will be really easy because, well, not really easy, but you might see something today. You might see something today that you've seen before, and then tomorrow it'll be completely different. So being able to apply the open mind to the 2 days not the same, which links into number 3 and number 4, which is keep learning. Always keep learning. Every day, read about things, read the news, go on Reddit, go on Reddit/NetSec, it's pretty good. There's other subreddits. I wouldn't recommend spending your whole day on Reddit. It can happen. Reddit's a great place, and a not so great place. Never read the comments. That would be my top tip. Never read the comments on Reddit. It's awful. Books. There are blog posts every day. Follow people on Twitter. Follow the hashtag SteelCon, and anyone who's tweeting about it, go and look at their account. Maybe they put out interesting content. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. Fuck it, just do it. If you're not on Twitter by the end of this, I'll shout at you. Actually, I'll shoot you. So, keep learning. Make every day a school day. Try and learn something new every day. So, whether it be a new flag and bash, or a new... Someone's running, I've scared them off already. They've lasted this long. Yeah, whether it's a new flag and bash or it's something new, try and make every day a school day. Try and learn something new. Or if you can't learn something new, make someone else's day a school day. Teach them something new. That doesn't mean go around explaining everything to everyone going, I know about this, fucking listen to me. Or you could, but people won't start to like you. So yeah, that covers the kind of important things in the industry. And there's the new project plan. So this is making tech more accessible. I was speaking to a guy who used to work for National Grid, who now works for a startup, about it in a blog, and he was like, I really like you, Andy. You, apart from being the only Scotsman who speaks straight to the point and does talks, you also kind of make things more accessible for people. I was like, oh, thanks. That's really nice. Made me smile and made me think, actually, yeah, making tech more accessible is probably quite a good idea. Which then led me on to, my girlfriend and I went to an event in London I was doing a bug bounty for a big social network. There's only 4 you can pick. You've got a 25% chance to get it right. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you can probably work it out. They do books and things. Anyway, shit. Yeah, so we were down there, and she saw the sort of stuff we were doing bug bounty. She went, "This is really interesting, but I have no idea what you're doing. This looks like movie hacking." I'm like, I was explaining to her, and I sat down and I was like, right, this is what I'm doing. She went, I have no idea what you're doing. I went, I'm doing port scanning. And then I broke it down and I went, so port scanning is like robbing a house that you've got permission to rob. So you go around and you go, well, the front door's locked, I'm going to look for all the open windows. And the open windows are the ports that are open. Or if the windows are closed, they're closed ports. So she was like, right, okay, but what does TCP UDP mean? I'm like, oh, fuck, right, okay. Imagine that the window is always open. That's sort of TCP. No, that's UDP. It's sort of always open, but you never really know if it's open or closed. And then TCP is like you open the window, and then the person on the other side who you're robbing goes, "Yep, my window is definitely open," and then you can open it. That's sort of how TCP works, and it sort of made sense to her. It's not that's a really high. All right, fine. I was waiting for it. It was totally what the fuck. Now everyone's yeah. So making security more accessible. The other thing was explaining man in the middle. Does anyone not know what man in the middle is? I'm going to explain it anyway. For everyone at home who doesn't know what man in the middle is. What? Fuck off. I've got one. Maybe it wasn't even you that said it. Alright, okay. Fair enough. Now I've got a spare dart because someone fired it at me. Thank you. Yeah, so man in the middle. Imagine you're posting letters to a letterbox, right? And there's a basket to the other side of the letterbox. When you post a letter through, there's somebody to the other side who's reading the letters, but not opening. They can see through the envelope and they can read the letters before they go in the basket. That's basically man in the middle, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Basically, it's a very high-level way of saying it. Hopefully, no one. Something about shoot me. Fuck, right, okay, cool. So yeah, I explained that to her. It sort of made sense, but then she was like, I want to learn more. I was like, go and read my book. And this is when I found out my book is not suitable for non-technical people, because she read the first couple of chapters and she went, yeah, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's 90% of the time anyway, but the book was on top of that. So I thought, right, cool, I'm going to break things down and I'm going to explain them in a completely non-technical way. So I put out the first blog post just the end of June there, explaining what hacking is and how hacking isn't related to computers. It's related to taking things and making them do things they're not meant to do, or things that they're originally not written down to do. So that being a hacker doesn't necessarily mean that you're, right, I'm doing well, I've done more than 40 minutes, great. Being a hacker means that you're interested in how things work and you're interested in making things do things that they aren't meant to do. So be that finding loopholes and things. I mean, I would classify my girlfriend as a hacker because she came up with a bug that we ended up reporting to the company, that she was like, I know that this looks like a bug, but I don't know how to exploit it. You can do the technical stuff, I'll think about it. And basically what it was is what you could do is you could find out where someone was located based upon what they put on a certain profile. And she was like, what if you could spam that out and find out where everyone lived? And I was like, well, you can do that anyway. She went, no, but like everyone's got their phone on them, they've got GPS location, that sort of thing. And I was like, you're onto something. She went, yeah, I know I'm onto something now, get me it, money and stuff. I'm like, okay. So I went and tried to exploit it. Now, I managed to find a way to exploit it, and it was, stop it, I can see it pointed at me. Found a way to exploit it, and she was like, I want to do that. I want to be able to find a loophole and be able to do it. So I was like, okay, cool, let's take it right back. I went, what are you interested in? She went, I want to break stuff. I went, have you ever tried lockpicking? She went, no. So I got a pair of lockpicks out, got a thing. She popped the lock within seconds. I'm like, she was like, how did you do that? She went, oh, I've done it before with a hair clip, but I never knew it was called lockpicking. I'm like, marry me, please. But yeah, so that sort of thing. And then the other side of things is security that's more accessible to people who are non-technical. I'm not saying that social engineering is non-technical, but taking social engineering as an example, she managed to get past my flat close system, a close, to clarify, in England. In England, I don't know what it's called in England, maybe it's the corridor of your flat. In Scotland, a close is like the thing you buzz people into your flat, and it's the corridor outside your flat.
Doorbell.
So, it's not a doorbell. It's not a doorbell. The doorbell is the thing on my door. Like it's to get into your flat close. It's the I don't know. The stairwell.
It's the hallway.
The hallway, the stairwell.
Corridor. Yeah.
Corridor. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to Scotland versus England. Yeah. So there's that. And she managed to get past that. She's like, if I buzz the services button, immediately buzz yours, it opens the door. I'm like, that's hacking. That is literally finding a loophole in something and exploiting it. She's like, yay, I'm a hacker! I'm like, you need to learn the more technical things first. So that's what my new project is making, yeah, not ISIS, it's making tech more accessible. So giving people who might understand how the internet works, might use internet like they use electricity, they can use it, but they don't understand how it works. They don't understand Ohm's law, that sort of thing. So it's taking that sort of, I can use it, but I don't know how it works, and taking a step back and explaining how it works in a kind of very relatable sense. So the same thing applies. So this project plan is designed at people who are non-technical, but it's probably quite useful to anyone who works with C-level executives and that sort of thing, because if you can explain it to a child, you can probably explain it to an executive. Anyone who's at my B-Sides Leads talk will have heard me quote, most 3-year-olds are smarter than C-level execs, and it's true. Most of them are, because they can understand things, because their brains are early, that sort of thing. I don't know where I'm going with this. Just insulting board level, I think. If you are a C-level exec, you're probably smarter than 3-year-old because you're already here. But some 3-year-olds are pretty smart. But anyway, on top of that, it's aimed at old people. People who maybe have grown up through old people, as in like the elderly, people who have gone through times that didn't have internet. So explaining that sort of things, and the project is going to explain both internet kind of safety, that sort of thing, security advice, like having strong passwords, explaining how password managers work and why they're a good thing, and just general bits and pieces. And then the more technical stuff, it'll get more technical. So the first blog will build on the second, the third, the fourth, and the plan is to write a book as a precursor to my book, so that if you read the first book, you can go, well, I sort of understand how all this works, and then you can pick up my book and go, this is a load of bullshit. Or maybe not a load of bullshit, but like let's find the content. See, you can understand chapter 1, chapter 2 is code fundamentals. You can probably understand from there on in operating systems, virtualization, programming. Oh, there's a programming section. Anyway, I totally wrote that a wee while ago. But yeah, that's the new project plan. Once I've written that, it's going to start off as blog posts. If anyone's got any recommendations or suggestions, just give me a shout and I'll include them. I think that's about it. After I've written that book, I'll publish it. Probably I'll put it out for free because I'm all for making security more accessible by people for people. So I feel that if it's more accessible, if you pay it forward, it'll pay back to you eventually. That's what I think anyway. Yeah, that's me on the internet. If I haven't stressed enough, get the fuck on Twitter and follow me because that would be great. If you don't already, that's my blog, yeah, and that's the book. My slides will be up online probably later on today, so don't worry about taking note of that. Yeah. Now, the fun bit. Has anyone got any questions?
Are you actually ginger? It's hard to tell from here.
Yes, I am actually ginger. That's not a very good question, so you're not winning the book. Best question wins the book.
Can you explain CCP and UDP?
No. Sorry, Mickey.
I will use
Anyone else? Yes.
Have you found a difference between...
Wait, the guy behind you. That guy. I'll ask you in a sec.
Why did you at me on Twitter yesterday?
Why did I at you on Twitter yesterday? Oh, to get Shark to DEF CON. Do it! Have you done it yet?
Oh, we need to, yeah.
Yeah. She's been offered, a company have offered to pay her flights to DEF CON. She's like, oh, I'm not really sure. So everyone, there's a tweet on my Twitter. Everyone retweet it. Get Shark to DEF CON. Yay, DEF CON! So the question was, why did I at him on Twitter? That's why. This gentleman had a question.
So you know you've got big name certs like OSCP and Pressmark and stuff.
Yeah.
This is kind of more UK, Europe based, whereas OSCP is more industry, globalish.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found that there's much of a difference in the industry, which one you go with?
So the question was, which certs are kind of more localised, or which certs are more localised and which certs are recommended? I'd say the kind of baseline to get into pen testing would be OSCP. The CREST stuff is more applicable once you're in industry. There's CREST and Tiger, they're the kind of, to do government work you need to be check, which is you get clearance, you do check team member, then you have more years experience, you check team leader, and then you've got the more specialist stuff. I'd say to get into industry OSCP, it's not a be all and end all, but I'd say if you want to go for a cert, do OSCP, don't do Mickey Mouse CEH. If you've done CEH, I'm sorry if you're offended, you picked the wrong career choice. No, cert choice, the right career choice, wrong cert choice. So OSCP is the kind of baseline. There are other things like GPEN, which is more, it's a SAN certification. It's more designed around the US market, which doesn't mean it's not applicable in the UK, but if you're applying to like a US corporate, it'll filter through the HR system better. So if you're applying to like a big bank, probably taking Morgan Stanley as an example, I work for Morgan Stanley in the risk department, but their CV system filters on like, have you got this? And it goes to the next stage. Have you got this? If you don't have this, it goes to this pile. So for that, yeah, doing those sorts of certifications, which are US based, was fine. But OSCP, I'd say, is probably the kind of baseline. But you don't need to have certs. Like coming to conferences and doing capture the flags and stuff like that might level you above someone who has OSCP. Because if you're still at the technical level of doing OSCP, you could go and do it while you work for the company. But having the external experience will feed in and maybe not make you better, but level you above somebody who had similar spec. Does that answer your question, sort of thing? Don't ask me about AI, Stuart, I'm not fucking interested.
My go-to. So you just said something that's kind of a bugbear of mine. So I don't have any certs.
Yep.
And for me, looking at things like CISP and OSCP and stuff, the cost prohibitive. I mean, they're a lot of money to go and do.
Yeah.
Any of them. And yet, when you join companies, first thing you do, all right, we're going to sing up for this training cost and that one. Do you think you actually do need a cert to get into a job these days?
I mean, yes and no. CISP is probably a bad example because it's not. CISP isn't really one of the requirements for CISP is you need 5 years experience. You're not going to get 5 years experience. It's the constant chicken and the egg. You're not going to get 5 years experience by not being a job to get 5 years experience. That sort of thing. But taking OSCP, even if you don't have the certification, if you have the demonstrable technical skills to do the certification, some employers will look at that and go, well, cool, maybe you can't afford, maybe you're a student or something, that's fine. But if you can demonstrate, if they've got like an interview application or something, that you've got the technical skill set, maybe when you get into the job, they're like, right, we want you to do OSCP, we want you to do CREST, Registered Tester, or Tiger, QSTM, and get you to that level, because you might already be at that level, but you've not had the money to pay for it to do it. So I'd agree with you in the sense that, yes, you don't need certs to get into industry, but they do help. Certainly if you're coming off the back of a degree, or like leveling yourself from, going to the example I talked about earlier on with getting a flood of graduates in, and everyone's got a degree, everyone's got a first. It's like, cool, what have you got that Bill doesn't, or Jane doesn't, or whatever? And it's more about differentiation. It doesn't matter so much then when you've been in industry for long enough, because in my opinion, having experience is better than having certs. You could have all the certs in the world, but if you've got 10 years of hands-on experience, you're probably going to be better than the guy or girl who's got hundreds of certs, because all they've done is spend their time reading books. Because you get people as well who are, like me, I fall into that category, who are pretty good hands-on technical, but really shit when it comes to exams. Like, it takes me ages to pass an exam, because I can apply myself and do the practical side of things, but the theory just kills me. I'm like, right, cool, what port does this run on? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I'll just Google it from one site. Like, it's that sort of thing.
So would you say things like, I had a conversation with someone this morning, 15-year-old lad stood outside, and he's quite clearly got the gift. You know that in 3 years' time you're still doing your sweary talk.
Well, maybe not, he's not Scottish.
No, you can imagine it. But so would you probably say get your blog up there to demonstrate your knowledge,
Yep.
and then on your CV, I am working towards my OSCP to SEO your CV to get through the HR filter.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a real hacker, just write down a bunch of certs in your CV. Like if you're applying to, no honestly, if you're applying to a big, if anyone's ever done SEO hacking, literally just every second word, CH, and if it makes no sense, in the sentence, it'll bypass all the filters. Get to someone's desk and they go, I know what you're about. This makes no sense. What's going on here? But that's for like big companies. Smaller companies they'll weed it out straight away and go, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, but think like a hacker. If you're applying for a hacking job, hack it. That's what I would recommend. So yeah. Right, we've got 5 minutes. There's been no good questions yet, so no one's going to...
That's the reason why your blog's full of porn vulnerabilities.
I enjoy finding holes. You've already got a book, that was quite a good question. Anyone else?
Earlier you said you've got a really good way of explaining what IP addressing was for somebody who knew nothing about computers. It's a question that somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I don't really know what the easiest non-technical way of explaining what an IP is.
Okay. Oh, right, okay, cool, that's fine. I thought we'd lost this slide. Yeah, so how long have I got? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes? 2 minutes, okay. Basically, an IP address, imagine it as a postcode. Postcode, you're posting shit to. The domain is the first line of the address, the IP is the postcode. Somebody's going to point a gun at me in a second, it's going to be awful. So you can post stuff to someone's address if you've got the IP address, but you can't if you don't have the first line of the address. So you need the domain and the IP. So that's sort of how that works. That's how I explain DNS. Fuck it, ask me after. I'm going to run out of time. This could turn into a talk on its own. Andy explaining how shit works.
I'm out of nerve bullets.
Thank fuck. Oh!
That's getting me a legal.
Applause!